Web design as a career is dead, or so it would seem if you look at my social media feed, because every week there's a new AI tool that promises to replace me and the work that I'm doing, and it can look a little bit scary. If you're a designer considering to get into design and build a career in design, should you bet your future career on a career where technically maybe there's an AI that is more talented than you, faster than you, and that profession is not going to be needed in the future? Well, today I want to tell you my prediction, which is the future is going to be complicated. We're going to talk about this in a second, but there's no need to be worried because I think there's going to be more opportunities than ever. And let me share a story to explain why. I have a friend who used to work in the 80s as a designer in one of the big newspapers, and he used to work alongside a lot of other talented creatives, people who are typesetters, people who are paste up artists, people who are mechanical artists, who were highly regarded as the best creatives in the industry. Now, if you're under 50 and you're not sure what typesetter and mechanical artist, that's why nobody does that anymore, because today everybody is doing that with software. Typesetters were the people who were actually arranging metal or wooden letters in lines to create the text. Newspapers. Paste up artists were the people creating the layout by, cutting up the letters and the photos and arranging them. All of these things you do nowadays with software like Photoshop or InDesign. And one day a mech came into the office, and a week later, all of these people who were the most important people in the newspaper editorial and design department were all of a sudden fired. And you can imagine kind of like the design industry screaming back at the time, like, this is the personal computer is the end of the design industry, because basically you now have a single person using Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, doing the work of 10 people, doing it 10 times faster. This seems like the end of the design industry. Most people are going to be fired, and there is not going to be a way to build yourself a career in this industry. And the truth is, some of these professions actually died, but of course, it doesn't mean that design industry was ruined. Today, there are more designers working and being paid more than the amount of designers we had in the 80s. So the industry is just changed, but the amount of people creating creative work today is actually bigger. And this is very similar to how I started using Webflow 7 years ago. And when everybody was talking about no code, there was kind of like this craze of what no code tools. Would that means that there's not going to be a need for, front end developers? Are tools like Webflow about to kill all developers? And no, but while I am now able to do the work of designer and developer at the same time, that doesn't mean that there's no need for developers, and there are actually more developers today than ever before. So I hope you can see how history repeats itself and how new technologies do create a disruption in the way that we work and the tools that we're using. So perhaps a few years from today, maybe we're not going to use the term UX designer. Maybe instead we're going to use the term prompt engineer. But that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the amount of people who are building a career as creatives, who think creatively, help their clients solve problems, right? And they use the tools in their disposal to create good work. That is always going to be a highly valuable, lucrative career. And there's more and more people who are going to do that. So I think there's an opportunity, because we have what's called the old guard, right? All of the people here today who are kind of like older and established and successful today, the reason that they are successful today is because they are very, very good at using the tools that we have today. And so they are kind of like in love with the tools that they have today. They will be slower to adjust and use the new tools because they're already so good with what's working for them today. They'll be slower to adjust, and just like the dinosaurs, they might die. And if you're one of the new people coming along who doesn't have attachment to the old way of doing things, and you're willing to be open and consider the new tools and try whatever works to get the best solution out there, then you have an opportunity to become the new wave of talented, successful, creative, and designers that will succeed in the age of AI. I personally am very excited about this. And if you want to learn more about these new AI tools, make sure to check out the next video. I'll see you there.